When I was in 10th grade, I was in French 2, and we were in the section we were learning about animals. And in different languages, animals make different sounds. Not the animals themselves, but like the sounds that we assign to the animals. I don't remember any of those things about what they say in France, but I thought it was really funny because an owl in America says hoo hoo. The word who, W-H-O, in French is qui. And so I walked up to my teacher one day and I was like, oh, I know what an owl says in French. And I said, qui, qui. And she did not think that was funny, and I was so offended because low-key, that's like the greatest joke I've ever told in my entire life.
So anyway.
This morning at work, I googled the nutritional facts of poppy seeds. How'd you start your day? Welcome to So Anyway. Today, I am fielding questions that I got from people. That's right, it's another segment of Unwarranted Life Advice. You didn't ask for it, but here it is. I'm not qualified to give advice, but you know, that's okay. Let's get started. First question, should I take up rollerblading? My answer is yes. You should rollerblade absolutely everywhere. Like, do you remember rollerblading? Rollerblading was huge. I just remember like rollerblading down the street and just feeling so alive. You should take up rollerblading, and you should rollerblade everywhere. You should rollerblade at the grocery store, at work, in the shower. I mean, really, the options are endless. What is the best flower for an unromantic apology? Which, that's an amazing question. It does lead to another question. Now, do you mean that the apology was unromantic, whereas it should have been, and the person doing the apologizing like sucks at what they're doing? Or do you mean that it's an unromantic relationship, like apologizing to a friend? I have an answer for both of those. So if the answer to that question is somebody who is in a romantic relationship but just has failed really hard, which is interesting, because if that's the question, you're saying, how do I give an unromantic apology to somebody who I should give a romantic apology to? Which, that's weird advice to ask for, but you know what? I'm not here to judge people's lives. Maybe you want to send a message, like a passive-aggressive message that you're just done with that person. If you're wanting to send a passive-aggressive apology to somebody that perhaps you love and have a romantic relationship with, I think the unromantic apology flower to send would be like just a bundle of dandelions. Give them a bouquet of those, but without all of the fluffy things. Like, make sure those are all gone. Make a million wishes, maybe about how you wish you weren't with this person, and then hand those to them. That is an unromantic apology. On the flip side, if you are trying to apologize to somebody who's a friend or maybe a coworker or your mom, and you want it to be unromantic and you want to do it with flowers, I think you could just send them like a potted plant, a small pine tree, a basket of leaves, daisies. People like daisies. People also like tulips. I don't like tulips. I just think they're kind of, I don't know, they look cartoonish to me. But cartoons are happy, and so maybe that's what you should do. Send some tulips to your friend to establish, hey, I'm sorry, I know I messed up, but here's some cartoonish flowers. Does that make you smile? Maybe. Not good advice. All right. Next question is, how old is too old to play on the playground at a park? Now, this is kind of a tricky question, and I really honestly think that directly correlates to how creepy you are as a person, and that's going to require a lot of honest self-reflection. Just going to leave that there for you to figure out. What food applies to the 5-second rule? Here's the thing, I'm going to be real with you. I'll eat almost anything off of the ground, so I'm just going to go ahead and say all food applies to the 5-second rule. Yeah, maybe that makes me a gross person. I'm fine with that. When and how do you use appropriate punctuation? Always. Always use appropriate punctuation. There's never going to be a situation where it's appropriate to use improper punctuation. All you have to do is close your eyes, think back to 7th grade, and find your inner student. And always, always, always use the Oxford comma. Fantastic. I was also asked, how do you not sweat the small stuff? I have no clue. Kind of a similar question. I was asked, how do you stay in the moment? Now, this can be difficult, but I would say in order to be in the moment, to stay in the moment and pursue that and be intentional about that, is ignore that sense of impending doom. To do that, just think about a pocket. Make a little pocket in your mind, like a t-shirt pocket, just hanging up on the wall of your mind space. And every time you feel that sense of impending doom, the darkness closing in, you feel like you're never gonna make it, you're never gonna be anything, and everybody thinks you're silly. And when you realize that you'll never get to meet a dinosaur in person, and when you realize that the Stegosaurus and the T-Rex never could have been friends because they never existed at the same time, and when you realize that Oxford is older than the Aztecs, when you realize that the French people still used the guillotine when the Star Wars movies first came out, when you remember the golden days of when Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were married, and then you remember that they're not married anymore, when you remember that Dunkaroos don't exist anymore, when you remember that moment you realized you could never be a cast member on all that. All of those things in your mind, just think of plucking them up, just like plucking up those little people when you're playing Roller Coaster Tycoon. You needed to move them somewhere else, or they were so dumb they got lost and they couldn't find the bathroom, and then they started to pee and puke everywhere. Just pick them up just like that and just go ahead and pop them into your little mind pocket and just forget that they're there. Living in the moment! That's all of my advice, guys. I hope that this informs your life and that you learn something and that now you can go on and feel good about stuff and things in life, because I know what I'm talking about. Thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up, because giving things thumbs up is nice and is an easy way to spread cheer and joy. Did you know when I cry, my eyebrows get sweaty, and that is a real problem for me because these are not real. These are fictional.